There's a number of things that really drew us to this property. One of the main ones I would say is just the way of life here in West Virginia. It's a much slower, more peaceful way of life. And the people here are so neighborly, they're so kind and welcoming. And we really enjoy the Appalachian people and the West Virginia people in general. With this particular property, there's so much history here. Every single cabin tells a different story. Every family that's lived here has added something new. And has worked so hard to maintain and make this property just the beautiful place that it is. We also just had really big dreams of being off-grid and self-sufficient and set up for a homestead. This property has all of those things to help you get set up right away. So we were able to be, off-grid very quickly. One of the first things I noticed when I came to this property was just how laden it is with fruit trees and berry bushes. And a lot of times when you buy a homestead for the first time, these are things that you have to plant, that you have to start from the very beginning, where there's some very mature fruit trees and berry bushes here in a beautiful garden, and so many structures that are very useful to a homesteader. And so that's one thing that we loved here.
There's a lot of old kind of folklore that is around this property, especially in this area. The city of Pine Grove was once a bustling city when the oil boom came into town. We've heard from our neighbors that there used to be wooden boardwalks that went along our property that connected multiple different houses. There was bars, there was restaurants, there was shops all along the road that we're currently on. So at one time, this was very much kind of the center of town. Back in the early 1900s, they actually came and offered everybody on this road the option for either $300 in cash or free gas for the rest of the existence of the property. And our property is one of the only properties, I think one of two only properties in this entire region that accepted that offer. So yeah, there's 57 acres here on the property. We border two creeks, so Piney Fork Creek runs on the road here that you access the property from. And there's a runoff creek that is on our other border that runs north and south. So we kind of sit in almost a triangle shape for that 57 acres. It's definitely a diverse plot of land we have here. We have some pasture land to some rolling hills, and then we actually have some really steep terrain with some rocks that form some caves up in the mountains. At the top of our property, I would say half of the property sits kind of at a plateau where it's just flat land and just really beautiful lush forest. In terms of hunting, we live on a bear migratory path. There's one of our neighbors is a bear hunter, and he says, where we live particularly, every year bears are coming to and fro. We sit just behind thousands of acres of state land. If you just cross the road and go a little down the road, there's, I believe, a few thousand acres of state land over there. So there's so much potential. Going into the woods, going on hikes, there's old logging trails that go through our woods itself. The property that borders our land, directly behind our land, is 3,000 acres of timber company land that's forested once every 10 years or something like that. So there's not a lot of action going on up there. We very much inherited in this place an abandoned homestead. So while it had all the features and buildings and functionality, it was very much neglected. It hadn't been lived in for a few years, and it was of need of a lot of TLC. It needed a lot of little things just to get it back up and running. And I think one of the things that we have accomplished since we've been here is we've restored it back to a sort of glory. Not its full potential yet, but we've definitely stepped in the right direction to where a lot of the things that needed to be done were taken care of. And we really took a lot of pride in just fixing the little things and making it feel like a home. You walk in here now and it feels like a home. When we first walked in, it felt more or less like the bones of a home, but now it's definitely a home.
There's so many things we've done. One thing we did right away when we moved in was to give the property potential to be off-grid by installing a generator. So now we can be fully off-grid and we can run everything through our generator, the power for our whole house. Doesn't matter if power ever goes out, but you have the flexibility on this property to be off-grid or on the grid if you want, which is actually very rare to find. Yeah, there's also 6 cabins on the property. They each have a different purpose. The cabin in our front yard, it's actually a late 1800s mining cabin. It's from a mining and oil camp right down the road from us. It was disassembled board by board and then reassembled here on our land. It does have a functioning gas stove in it, so you can go sit out there and have a fire or whatever. Our kids use it as a playhouse. One of my favorite projects was the canning kitchen. So our canning kitchen was built in the 1950s by the Conley family. And it has a canning kitchen up top and then a root cellar down below. When we first moved in here, it was just kind of filled with stuff. It was very dirty. You didn't really want to go into the cellar because there was just so much stuff in there. We weren't sure what we were going to find, but we cleaned it all out. And when we first moved here, we actually didn't even realize that it was a canning kitchen and a root cellar. As we started to clear away the debris and the dust, we realized that it was a very well-maintained root cellar, that it was a beautiful, functioning canning kitchen. There's a gorgeous, old-fashioned vintage stove in there from around the 1950s that still works. It's a gas stove, and it's fantastic. There's a hand pump sink, and then the root cellar is it's extremely well-maintained. It's clean, it's cool all year round. There are a couple really cool things that we found in the root cellar that we enjoyed uncovering were dozens and dozens of different kinds of mason jars. Some of them Atlas strong shoulder mason jars, which are actually very valuable. We also found a bunch of old china plates that are now decorating the walls in that room. There's a fireplace and a little reading nook. It's a spot just to get away, but also to work and to store up food for your family. Then there's a workshop cabin, which is another cabin that we restored. We took out some rot that was in it. We replaced the floors and cleaned it all up, cleared it out. There's a shed it's kind of like a cabin shed. We use it as a workout space. And then over by our guest house, there's another cabin. And that cabin we completely gutted because it had been just filled with junk and neglected for a very long time. And it had been causing some problems inside of the structure. So we completely gutted it. It's totally cleared out now. We replaced the floors. It used to be used as a workshop by the Conleys, and it was actually built by the Conley family. But like I said, it had been neglected for a very long time. That cabin is now ready to be used and turned into something beautiful if you want, or used as a workshop as is. And then there's another cabin out in our woods. It's about a half-mile hike from our house, so a 1-mile hike round trip. That cabin was built in 2017. It's a beautiful little hunting cabin, primarily used for hunting and for camping. It has a brand new wood-burning stove in it, and it's all set up to stay the night.
There's been multiple families that have lived in this house. We would separate that to, there's been a few families that owned this house. So this house was partially rented out at a time, and along with the house right down there was partially rented out. This house in particular has been about through 5 families that we can track all the way back to when the land was originally purchased. The gentleman who actually purchased this original plot of land is buried just up the hill at our neighbor's house. There's 3 separate dwelling units. There's a trailer, there's the main house, and there's the guest house, as we call it. Each one of those 3 has all those things I mentioned. So each one's attached to its own electric power line. Each one's attached to its own metered wellhead for gas, except for this main house. This main house has free gas. Each one has its own well, its own pump for water, and its own septic system. So there's plenty of room to grow into. And touching on kind of the things that we've done, especially with the guest house. Again, we took a house that was very much neglected and we cleaned it. We gutted a lot of the junk in there. I threw away a lot of the trash and just kind of brought it back to life. And I would feel perfectly comfortable going to live in there today if I had to, putting my family in there if they wanted to come and stay for the weekend. It's a perfectly nice house and we're really, really grateful for that.
Another thing that we did that I really enjoyed was restoring the garden. When we first moved in here, the garden had weeds that were taller than me. They were over 6 foot tall. We cleared out that whole garden, removed all of the broken garden beds that were in there, and just all of this crazy overgrowth. There was a pizza oven in there we didn't even know was there when we moved in. The pizza oven is fully functioning, makes fantastic wood fire oven pizzas now. We have brand new garden beds. That garden has a grapevine. It has berry bushes, blueberry and raspberry. Yeah, it's got comfrey. It's got, chamomile. It has so many medicinal herbs that takes a while to grow and to mature. That garden had just so many little hidden treasures like that. It has a functional pond. The pond was completely overgrown when we first started working in that garden, and the water couldn't even flow. We completely redid that pond so that now the water just flows beautifully through it and just hums like a hymn.
We set out to make this our forever home. It didn't work out that way, but every renovation we did, every task that we undertook, we took a lot of pride in it because we figured we better do this right because we're gonna be living here for the rest of our lives. And we really poured a lot into this house. We poured a lot of love into this house, a lot of hard work into this house. We came in here with this homestead intention of passing this house generationally down to our family. And we took pride in the work that we did, and we really wanna see it go to a good family. We really want the next person to come in and embrace everything that's here, to kind of build upon the legacy that each past homeowner has done, and to grab that baton and keep running and to make this place, bring it back to its former glory, because it's such a beautiful house, it's such a beautiful homestead, and that's truly what we want to see. It's just bringing this place back to where it belongs.
I want to say, I think we have restored this place. I think we have brought it back to life. There's always more you can do on a property like this, but we definitely can say that we brought it back to life.
We did.
I think we just really want to make sure that this property is passed on to good hands, to a family or an individual who's really going to care for it and who's going to love it and appreciate it. There's a piece of every family's story on this property. And I think that should be cherished, that it should be taken care of, that it should be protected. So we want the next family or individual who owns this property to just be a good steward of it and to have a heart for it and to love it and take good care of it.